Hey, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of John Has Trust Issues, where I discuss issues relevant to the world of authorization and zero trust in a few minutes. I'm John Martinez. I'm the technical evangelist at StrongDM, and my trust issues stem from that email that just came in right before I started recording from the company CEO asking me for a Target gift card. And he needs it ASAP. That's kind of weird. Why wouldn't he just call me? Anyway, today I'm talking about new reports of Microsoft employees exposing credentials of other employees, or probably of themselves too, and internal files on a storage server, quote unquote. They don't specify, these articles don't specify more details than that, but being in the cloud, I can only guess that these, not just servers, it could be object stores, different things like that. So, as reported by TechCrunch and The Verve, what was exposed were code, scripts, config files, things that were holding and hosting very sensitive information like employee passwords, keys. Again, no mention of whether those were private keys or cryptographic keys, etc., but we can only guess. And other credentials used by Microsoft employees to access things like databases, other critical systems. We're talking about Azure. Apparently, a lot of this stuff hosted things related to Bing search engine. So we'll see. The wide open storage was found by SOC Radar, a research company that specializes in this sort of thing. They provide services for finding vulnerabilities and security issues for their clients. But Microsoft was notified on February 6th, and as of March 5, everything was locked down, couldn't access that anymore. That said, no evidence either way if those files that were containing the credentials were accessed by nefarious users. But having been in the cloud myself for such a long time, I know that when something like servers and object stores are exposed, those are some of the favorite, those are the same targets that scanners are pointed at. And attackers are just waiting to pounce on those types of openings in a cloud environment. It just happens. So, the point being that those servers probably were accessed and probably were accessed very quickly because they were scanned and they were noticed pretty quickly. So, what happens when these types of credentials and other sensitive bits are exposed on the internet? If that's correct, from what we understand in the articles, there's quite a bit of damage that could be had by those attackers. And those actors, they could do things like data exfiltration. That could be a given, especially if some of that data, those databases were hosting things like PII, PHI, financial data, and we don't know. It could have been something as simple as dev data or staging data where there's not really any real customer data associated with it. But again, we don't really know. But that's something that could happen. Another thing that could happen with that data is ransomware attacks. Attackers could go and hold that data for ransom and extract millions of dollars. Again, depending on the sensitivity of the data and what was in that data. Another thing that could happen is cloud account takeover. That's a very real thing that could happen. They could either be in the form of locking the owner of the cloud account out, so that they no longer have access to the cloud account. It could be also something that's a little bit more has a little bit more nuisance associated with it, like starting up resources in another region, kind of hiding it away. Crypto mining, that kind of stuff. Also very popular and been happening for a very long time. That can get really messy with the cleanup as well. So something else that could potentially happen here. And other thing that could happen, I think this is probably one of the worst aspects of this, is that unauthorized access to systems, their applications, And if, for example, I can get a shell on some kind of Linux server that's running in the cloud, that then I could do things like lateral movement within that environment or other networks. And even worse, if that particular cloud VPC was connected to a corporate network, I can move laterally into the corporate account. Corporate network. So a lot of these kinds of things, these are some of the potential scenarios that could happen. Obviously, depending on the sensitivity, depending on the type of administrative privilege that those credentials had, there's different things that could happen. It could be, some of them could be very damaging to our environment. So definitely, this particular report is happening to Microsoft. It could happen to a lot of us. I always like to leave things like this report on a high note, however. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the types of things that we can do as cloud security pros, as identity pros, to avoid this type of damage from happening in our environment. So let's take a look at a few things that I jotted down here. Number one, don't expose credentials. But don't store them in code. Don't store them on GitHub and text files, etc. Don't be exposing them. I mean, definitely, it's 2024, people. Let's lock those things down, and especially in aspects of gaining privileged access to servers. That's where we at StrongDM can definitely help you out. Again, this is all about not exposing those credentials. This is about controlling access to sensitive, to critical resources. It's something that we can do in a simple and very secure way. So no need to expose those credentials. Another thing that you could do is monitor your cloud security posture in real time where possible. And not only that, if you do find exposure, if your automation tools find exposure, also use automation to close those things up. It's definitely something that's very doable in real time, or as near real time as possible, and to patch things up very quickly. And finally, another aspect that's a little bit more newer in the capabilities here that are available is authorize continuously. Now, what we're talking about here is newer concept. These are concepts that are, well, older concepts, newer implementations, where in zero trust architecture, this is something definitely that's been talked about, that's been designed as an architecture that is implementable today with tools like StrongDM, where we do have real-time policy enforcement with fine-grained permissions and contextual security awareness. So, for example, if an endpoint, a device posture for a user's laptop, as an example, goes bad, there's malware, etc. on it, you can definitely authorize and react in real time. And close sessions up, remove permissions, remove access, etc. from sensitive resources, especially in resources where PII and PHI, etc. is hosted. And definitely one of the aspects of this is to challenge users that are wanting to gain more access or are wanting to run some kind of action that is destructive or is administrative, etc. Definitely something that you should check out as part of StrongDM's platform. We can definitely help you out there. So the key here, everybody, is for sure is prevention. Definitely prevent and definitely react in real time where possible. Well, that's another episode of John Has Trust Issues. This episode was sponsored by StrongDM. Like I mentioned earlier, the real-time and modern access management platform to enable zero trust authorization for all of your infrastructure. Thanks again for watching. Have a great day.